Alright, this week's deck tech is, like I told you, based around Empty the Pits. And it's basically a kind of rude deck. I had a couple cards in here play against me and I almost cried because they were just really powerful if you can get the mana for them. So that's what this deck is. It starts off with 4 copies of Embodiment of Spring. It's a 1 blue elemental creature token. And it's a 0/3, so that's nice. It helps, block off things like goblins and aggro's deck. And you can pay 1 colorless and a green, tap it, sack it, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. Basically, it's a great blocker, and then when you don't need it anymore, you just throw it away and go get land off of it because it's like the creature, it's just like coming out of spring and you get land, and yeah, it's good flavor too. So 4 copies of that. I also include 4 copies of Dragon's Eye Savants. It's 2 mana, 1 colorless and a blue, but you can also put it down as a 3/3 or a 2/2 morph creature for 3 mana, and then you can reveal a blue card in your hand to flip it, and when it turns face up, you get to look at your opponent's hand. So that's kind of really nice. And it's also an 0/6 blocker, so you can basically block pretty much all the things that you might come across, because I think the largest thing that I can think of is on the ground is a Seibu Mauler at the moment, and granted that can get pretty big and it is a 6/6, but you can at least block it for once with this guy. That's a good thing. So yeah, 4 copies of those. I also include 3 copies of Prognostic Sphinx. 5 mana, 3 colorless, 2 blue for a 3/5 flyer. It's awesome. This card did work at all the Pro Tours because it's really good. It has flying. You can also discard a card and tap Prognostic Sphinx to give it hexproof, so if someone targets it, you can just, throw away a card in your hand to prevent that. That's pretty awesome. You can also, whenever it attacks, you get to scry not 1, not 2, but 3 cards. And if you have more than 1 of these out, you're scrying a whole bunch. And scrying is really great in this deck because you can either get the mana you need or you can get your win conditions that you need. So Prognostic Sphinx can help you really get there really quickly. Alright, for charms, I've got 4 copies of Sultai Charm. Now this is 3 in the Sultai colors, black, green, and blue. And you get to pick one. Choose destroy target non-land, non-monocolored creature. So multicolored things like Butcher the Horde, Ankle Shanker aren't gonna go, but there's plenty of monocolored stuff to kill. You can also destroy target artifact or enchantment, which is pretty sweet because there's quite a few artifacts and there's quite a few enchantments in this deck. Corsair Prefix comes to mind. I want to punch that card in the face sometimes. I hate playing against it. And the third and final choice you get to pick is draw 2 cards and then you discard a card. Which, since this has to do with Delve, because Empty the Pits has Delve, discarding is not a problem, especially when it's something you don't need right now. Just discard it. Discard it and use it for delving cost. Awesome. 4 copies of that. I also include 1 copy of this week's card of the week, Empty the Pits, the crazy expensive zombie horde creator card. It's awesome. XX and 4 black mana. It's a lot, I know, but I've got some mana fixing stuff like the Embodiment of Spring to help us get there, and Prognostic Sphinx to help us be able to unleash a horde of zombies really fast. So yes. XX 4 black mana, you can use Delve also to pay for it, and you get to put a whole bunch of 2/2 zombies tapped onto the battlefield, and it's an instant, so you can play it whenever you want, like at the end of your opponent's turn, right before your turn, and then you get to untap everything, and you can attack with a whole bunch of 2/2 zombies. Yay! Yay! I also include 4 copies of Divination, 3 mana, 2 colorless, and a blue to draw 2 cards. And this deck you need to draw stuff so you can play things out. It helps a lot drawing things, especially to find what you need. I also include 2 copies of Drown in Sorrow, 1 colorless, 2 black mana. It gives all creatures -2/-2, so all your stuff is safe. I mean 3/5, a 0/6, and an 0/3, you're good. That'll kill all those aggro decks and kill quite a few cards, like Carrotids and Rattle Claws and all the things that you don't want to see. And you also get to scry one. Yay for scrying! So 2 copies of that. This deck needs to keep the board clean to win. So that helps do that. Alright, and I think I'm going to save this card for last because this is my favorite. So, 4 copies of Font of Fertility. I know you usually don't see these in a deck. You get to pay 1 green to put it out, and then you have to pay 2 mana, 1 colorless, and a green. Tap it, and no, you don't have to tap it. You have to sacrifice it, and then you get to search your library for a basic land card. It comes into the battlefield tapped, and then you shuffle your library. So it just helps to get land out, which, like I said, Empty the Pits is expensive. A couple of my other cards are expensive. You need lands, and this helps a lot. 4 copies of that. I also include 3 copies of Dictate of Karametra because this card's kind of fun to flash in, especially when you need that extra mana and flash it on the end of your turn and then play all the things for big amounts of mana. It's fun. It's 5 mana, 3 colorless, 2 green for an enchantment with flash. And whenever a player taps a land for mana, you get to, let me make sure I do this, you get to add 1 mana to your mana pool of any type that land produces. So if you had something like Opulent Palace and you were tapping it for black, you could also add a green mana because it produces that mana and it's cool to have, which is awesome. So it doesn't matter. It's cool. I also include 4 copies of Ashiok Nightmare Weaver. Because what's more fun than, you know, cheating your opponent and denying them threats? No, that's fun. That's fun. Ashiok's fun to play. He's 1 colorless, 1 black, and 1 blue. Comes in with 3 loyalties. +2, you get to exile the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. And then -X, you have to pay the converted mana cost of a creature you exiled from your opponent's deck. And yeah, how nice is that? You get to cheat stuff in with there. And he also has a -10. You get to exile all cards from all opponents, so that's good, hands and their graveyards. That's really nice. So everything is exiled. They're just basically living off the top of their deck, which you're helping destroy with Ashiok by pulling stuff off the top of your deck. And since he's a 3 mana, you can get him out pretty easy and get stuff out to help do that and help just make this deck marvelous. Seriously, this deck's fun to play. Alright, I also include 3 more spell cards. I think this is my favorite spell in this entire deck. It's Villainous Wealth. This card is a bugger. I had this played on me and it was hilariously awful for me. It was okay because I can laugh about it. I can laugh about it at the time because it was so funny. It's X mana, a black, a green, and a blue. And it's a sorcery. Target opponent exiles the top X cards from his or her library. And then you may cast any number of non-land cards, so most of your opponent's deck, usually, unless you somehow hit all land in that X, all non-land cards with converted mana cost X or less from among them without paying that cost. So this hits Planeswalkers, it hits creatures, it hits enchantments, it hits spells, anything that's not a land it hits. And it costs less than what you have, you're good to play it. So, let's say for instance, you're playing a Teamer deck. That would be me. I was running Teamer. You're stuck and you don't have any blue mana. But it's okay, because you have blue mana in your deck. You have Rattleclaw Mystics and stuff like that. You can get to your blue mana. Your opponent flashes in Dictate of Karametra at the end of your turn. You're like, okay, that's fine. And then they play Villainous Wealth on their turn for 13. The top 13 of your guards happen to be, like 3 Rattleclaw Mystics, all your blue mana, and a couple of huge creatures. It was really sad, but it actually was really cool too, because Villainous Wealth it's kind of fun to play. Like, to be able to, like, steal all your opponent's things, like, all of them, and not just creatures from Ashiok, it's all of them, and play them for free is awesome. I really like this card. Plus then, if you have a ton of mana, you might as well use it. It's awesome. I mean, it's either this is a win condition, it can definitely be a win condition, or Empty the Pits can be the win condition. You can probably kill your opponent with Prognostic Sphinx if you ask to. It works. This deck, it's pretty sweet. I forgot to do the land base, but the land base is kind of boring. I tried to make it as budget as possible because I don't like spending money on land, but I'm going to have to get good lands. So, 4 forests, 4 islands, 3 swamps. Those are your basic lands. I also include 2 copies of Jungle Hollow. They come into play tapped. You gain a life, and they tap for green or black. So most of my dual lands, I made sure they tapped for black because I really, really want to play Empty the Pits. Because attacking with a zombie horde is awesome. So yeah. Opulent Palace, 4 copies of that. It taps for black, green, or blue. It does come into the battlefield tap, but it has really sweet art. I know that's not a good reason to play it, but I like the art on it. I also include 3 copies of Temple of Deceit. Taps for blue or black, comes into the battlefield. You get to scry. Scrying is sweet in this deck, especially if you can, you know, get something to remove things, like with Drown in Sorrow or whatnot, or scry your lands to the bottom, or keep lands on the top, depending on what you need. It works out really well. I also include 2 copies of Thornwood Falls. This one does tap for green and blue. I know, I said everything, all my dual lands tap for black. I was wrong. These 2 don't. My bad. So it comes into play tapped, you gain a life when it enters play, and it taps for green or blue mana. And then my final 2 lands and 2 cards in this deck are Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. This card is pretty awesome. I do only have 2 copies of it because it is a legendary land, so that means you can only have 1 out on the battlefield at a time. But what it does is each land is a swamp in addition to the other land types it is. So that helps fix things with the black mana, and now Empty the Pits is a lot more feasible because you have this card in it. I only have the 2 copies because I don't want any more. Because I don't want to draw both of them. Or I don't want to draw more than one of them is really what happens. At all. So, but I do want to draw one. Because making sure everything's the swamp that I need to tap for my Empty the Pits is awesome. So that's my scary kind of Halloween themed Sultai deck based on Empty the Pits and attacking with hordes of zombies. Yeah, I'd rather be on the sending them to the opponent's side than receiving hordes of zombies because they're scary. So let me know what you think of that deck in the comments below. Like this video, subscribe for more, and don't forget to go check out our Craft Magic giveaway that ends tomorrow. You should go check out the video and put your comments below in that video and enter into the contest because I'm giving away a whole bunch of crafty stuff. And you know you need crafty magic stuff. So yeah, go do it.